The gallery was almost empty. Light filtered through tall windows, turning the photographs gold. Nadia stood in front of a black and white image, a child's shoes abandoned on rubble. Damascus, the caption read, 2016. She traced the edge of the frame with one finger. People want the suffering, a voice said behind her. The dramatic stuff. Nobody cares about the quiet parts. Nadia turned. A man in his 30s stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets. Dark hair, tired eyes. He was looking at the same photograph. I disagree, she said. He raised an eyebrow. The quiet parts are what make us remember. She gestured to the child's shoes. This isn't about drama, it's about what was left behind. You sound like you know something about that. She did. Poland, 1998. Her mother packing their lives into 3 suitcases. The smell of their apartment, old wood and pierogi. The silence on the plane. I'm Omar, he said, extending his hand. Nadia. His grip was warm. When he let go, the space between them felt deliberate. You're an architect? He asked, nodding at the portfolio bag at her feet. How did you? The drawings sticking out. I'm a journalist. I notice things. She smiled despite herself. What kind of things? The way people look at photographs. Whether they see the image or the story, he paused. You see the story. They stood in the gallery for another hour. He told her about Syria, about leaving at 19, about words that meant home in Arabic but had no translation. She told him about straddling 2 languages, about family dinners where silence said more than conversation. When the gallery lights dimmed, signaling closing time, neither of them moved. Can I see you again? Omar asked. Nadia thought about her mother's voice on the phone that morning. We found someone for you. Good Polish family. You'll meet him Sunday. She thought about the shoes in the photograph, what was left behind. Yes, she said. Outside, the city was turning blue. They exchanged numbers under the streetlight, fingers brushing as he handed back her phone. She walked away but looked back once. He was still standing there, watching her go. The light above him flickered, and for a moment, he looked like someone caught between 2 places. She knew that feeling. She knew it too well. The gallery was almost empty. Late afternoon light filtered through tall windows, turning dust motes gold and casting long shadows across white walls. Nadia stood alone in front of a series of photographs documenting migration, faces at borders, children in transit camps, belongings packed into impossible small bags. She stopped at one image, a pair of child's shoes on rubble. Damascus, 2016. Her chest tightened. People want the suffering, a voice said from behind her. Male, American accent with something underneath. The dramatic stuff, blood and tears. Nobody cares about the quiet parts. Nadia didn't turn. I disagree. She heard him step closer. Those shoes aren't dramatic, she continued, still facing the photograph. But they're the thing that stays with you. The quiet parts are what make us remember. You sound like you know something about that. She did. Poland, 1998. 8 years old, watching her mother pack their entire lives into 3 suitcases. The smell of their Krakow apartment, old wood, pierogi, her grandmother's perfume. The weight of silence on the plane to America. Nadia turned. The man was in his 30s, dark hair, eyes that looked perpetually tired. He wore jeans and a simple shirt, hands in his pockets like he was trying to take up less space. I'm Omar, he said, extending his hand. Nadia. His grip was warm and brief. When he let go, the space between them felt strangely deliberate, like they'd both taken a step without moving. You're an architect? Omar asked, nodding at the portfolio bag near her feet. How did you? Drawings sticking out, and you've been staring at the composition of these photos, not just the content. He smiled slightly. I'm a journalist, I notice things. What kind of things? The way people look at photographs, whether they see the image or the story behind it. He paused, glanced at the child's shoes. You see the story. Nadia studied him. There was something in the way he stood, rooted but ready to leave, like someone who'd learned not to get too comfortable. Syria? She asked, gesturing to a photograph behind him. Damascus. I left when I was 19. So you know about the quiet parts too? Yeah, his voice softened. I do. They moved through the gallery together, no longer strangers, but not yet anything else. He told her about words in Arabic that meant home, but had no English translation. She told him about straddling two languages, about Sunday dinners where her family spoke Polish and she answered in English, about feeling like a tourist in both countries. You ever feel like you're translating yourself all the time? Omar asked. Every single day. He laughed and the sound surprised her. Warm, genuine, like he didn't do it often. When a woman in a gallery uniform announced they were closing in 10 minutes, Nadia realized an hour had passed. The light through the windows had turned amber, then gray. Can I see you again? Omar asked. Nadia thought about her mother's phone call that morning. We found someone for you, Kochania. Good Polish family, runs a business. You'll meet him Sunday after church. She thought about nodding through that conversation, saying yes without meaning it. She thought about the shoes in the photograph, all the things people left behind. Yes, she said. Outside, the city was turning blue with dusk. They stood under a streetlight, exchanging numbers. His fingers brushed hers as he handed back her phone, and the touch felt like a question neither of them knew how to answer yet. Nadia walked away but looked back once. Omar was still standing under the flickering streetlight, hands in his pockets, watching her go. The light above him sputtered, casting him half in shadow. For a moment, he looked like someone caught between two places. Not quite here, not quite anywhere. She knew that feeling. She'd lived in it for 20 years. Tell me something you've never told anyone. Nadia looked up from her coffee. They were sitting in a cafe 5 days later, tucked into a corner table. The place was warm, almost too warm, steaming windows blocking out the November chill. Omar smiled at her surprised expression. Too much? No, she said. Just direct. I'm tired of small talk. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. We could talk about the weather, or we could skip to the real stuff. She studied his face, those tired eyes that seemed to carry weight. Something in her chest loosened. My family wants me to marry a Polish man, Nadia said. The words came out flat. They've been trying to set me up since I turned 25. Every Sunday there's someone new. Good family, they say, from the community, like that's supposed to mean something to me. Does it? I don't know. She wrapped her hands around her mug, absorbing its warmth. I love them, but they want me to be someone I've never been. Omar nodded slowly. My parents are arranging a marriage too. Nadia's hand stilled. Girl in Damascus. They've known her family for years. She's suitable. He said the word like it tasted wrong. They've been calling every week for 6 months. Have you met her? No, and I won't. His voice was firm, but his hands were tight around his cup. I didn't come to America to live someone else's life. They sat in silence. The espresso machine hissed. Someone laughed at the counter. What do you miss most? Nadia asked. About Syria. Omar's expression shifted, softened and hardened at the same time. My sister. The way he said it made Nadia's throat tighten. She was 15, he continued, voice quiet. Smartest person I knew. Wanted to be a doctor. There was an attack on her school, 2015. He stopped, started again. I was already here. I couldn't. His hand was on the table. Nadia reached out, covered it with hers. I'm sorry, she whispered. Omar looked at their hands, didn't pull away. I send money home every month. For my parents, for my younger brother's education. It's my, I don't know, penance? Survivor's guilt? He laughed without humor. My therapist has a term for it. I forget which one. You don't have to explain it. I know. He turned his hand over, palm up, fingers curling slightly around hers. But I wanted to. The touch was warm, deliberate. Nadia felt her pulse in her fingertips. What about you? Omar asked. What do you miss about Poland? Honestly, not much. She said it quickly, surprised by her own honesty. We left when I was 8. I have memories, but they feel like photographs. Flat. My parents miss it more than I ever did. But they want you to live like you're still there. Exactly. Nadia pulled her hand back, picked up her coffee. The mug was cooler now. They want me to marry Polish, speak Polish at home, raise Polish children who grow up feeling just as stuck as I do. And what do you want? No one had asked her that. Not directly. Not like the answer mattered. I want to stop feeling like I have to choose, Nadia said, between being Polish enough for them or American enough for everyone else. I just want to be. Omar smiled, not the polite smile from the gallery, a real one, reaching his eyes. I know exactly what you mean. Outside rain started, soft at first, then harder, drumming against the windows. The cafe grew quieter, people settling in to wait out the storm. Neither of them suggested leaving. Omar ordered 2 more coffees. Nadia took off her jacket. They talked about architecture and journalism, about cities they'd lived in and cities they dreamed of. She told him about her favorite buildings in Krakow that she barely remembered. He told her about Damascus before the war, streets he'd never see again. The conversation flowed and paused and flowed again, the rhythm easy in a way Nadia hadn't felt in years. Can I ask you something? Omar said, voice lower now. Always. Why did you say yes? To seeing me again? Nadia thought about the man her parents wanted her to meet, the Sunday dinners that felt like auditions, the quiet suffocation of doing what was expected. Because you asked what I wanted, she said, and nobody ever does that. The rain outside turned softer. The windows started to clear, but neither of them moved to leave. Nadia's phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. She was in bed, reading a book she wasn't absorbing. Her apartment was quiet except for the radiator's hiss and the distant sound of traffic. Omar's name lit up her screen. I'm not waking you, am I? His voice was low, careful. No, can't sleep. Me neither. Nadia turned off her bedside lamp, letting her eyes adjust to the dark. City light filtered through her curtains, painting everything blue-gray. She could hear him breathing on the other end, the sound intimate in a way that made her chest feel warm. What are you thinking about? Omar asked. Honestly? You. She heard his smile in the silence that followed. Good thoughts or bad thoughts? I'm still deciding. He laughed softly. Nadia rolled onto her side, phone pressed to her ear, and stared at the shapes of her furniture in the darkness. Her drafting table by the window, the bookshelf overflowing with architecture books and half-finished novels. The life she'd built that felt both hers and not hers at all. Can I tell you something? Omar's voice pulled her back. Please. I think about my sister every night before I sleep. It's been 8 years and I still reach for my phone sometimes to text her. And then I remember. Nadia closed her eyes. What would you text her? Stupid things, like, I met someone today, or, you'd like this book I'm reading, or, he paused, or, I think I'm falling for someone and I don't know what to do about it. Nadia's breath caught. Too much? Omar asked. No. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Not enough. They stayed on the phone until 2:14 a.m. They talked about everything, childhood memories that felt both precious and painful, dreams they'd abandoned, and dreams they were too afraid to speak out loud. Omar told her about the novel he'd been trying to write for 3 years. Nadia told him about the buildings she'd designed that would never get built because the client wanted something more traditional. Traditional, Omar repeated. Always that word. Like there's only one way to be a thing. Exactly. Somewhere in the middle of the conversation, Nadia realized she was crying. Not sad crying, something else. The relief of being understood, of not having to translate herself. Nadia, I'm here. You okay? Yeah, she wiped her eyes with her free hand. I'm really glad you called. Me too. After they hung up, Nadia lay in the dark, phone still warm against her palm. The radiator hissed, traffic hummed, the city breathed around her. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt less alone. She thought about Omar somewhere across the city, in his own apartment, in his own darkness. She wondered if he was thinking about her too, if his chest felt this warm, if he was scared and hopeful in equal measure. Her phone buzzed again. A text this time. Omar, sweet dreams, if you have them. Nadia, you too. Omar, I will. You're in them. She read the message 3 times, then 4. Then she set her phone on the nightstand, rolled onto her back, and stared at the ceiling. She was falling. She knew it, could feel it happening in real time, the way gravity feels inevitable once you step off the edge. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, then faded. The city kept breathing. Nadia closed her eyes and let herself fall. The bridge was cold, wind cutting through Nadia's jacket as they walked across it. Below, the river moved dark and fast. Above, the sky was that deep blue that came just before full night. I love this time of day, Omar said, stopping midway across. He leaned against the railing, looking out at the city. Lights were beginning to flicker on in windows. When everything's in between. Nadia stood beside him, close enough that their sleeves almost touched. Between what? Day and night, work and home, who you were and who you're becoming. She looked at his profile. The wind pushed his hair back from his face. He looked younger somehow, less tired. Is that what we are? Nadia asked. In between? Omar turned to face her. His expression was serious now, searching. I don't know what we are yet, but you want to find out. Yeah. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I really do. The wind picked up. Nadia shivered without meaning to, and Omar stepped closer, blocking the worst of it with his body. They were inches apart now. She could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? This, you. How much I already... She stopped, the words too big, too fast. How much you already what? Nadia looked at the river below, the city beyond, anywhere but his eyes. Care. How much I already care. Omar reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. His hand curved along her jaw, gentle, anchoring. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. I'm scared too, he said quietly. Then he kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, his lips warm against the cold air. Nadia's hands found his jacket, fisting the fabric, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened. Everything else, the city, the wind, the fear, fell away. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Omar rested his forehead against hers. Oh, Nadia whispered. Yeah, his voice was rough. Oh, they stood like that for a long moment, foreheads touching, breathing each other's air. The bridge vibrated slightly under their feet as a car passed. Neither of them moved. This changes things, Omar said. I know. I don't want to hurt you. Nadia pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. Then don't. He smiled, sad and hopeful at once. It's not that simple. I know that too. The city lights blurred in Nadia's peripheral vision. Everything felt heightened. The cold, the warmth where their bodies touched, the rapid thud of her heartbeat. We should probably talk about this, Omar said, about what happens next. Later. Nadia pulled him close again, kissed him harder this time. Talk later. He made a sound low in his throat, hands sliding to her waist, and kissed her back like he was trying to memorize the moment. When they finally walked off the bridge, 20 minutes later, hand in hand, the city was fully dark. Stars tried to push through the light pollution. Failed. Kept trying anyway. Omar's phone rang while they were making dinner. Nadia was chopping vegetables at his kitchen counter, sleeves rolled up, comfortable in his space in a way that felt both natural and terrifying. It had been 3 weeks since the bridge. 3 weeks of stolen evenings and long phone calls, and carefully not defining what they were to each other. Omar glanced at the screen. His entire body went rigid. I should... He looked at Nadia, then at the phone. I have to take this. Okay, he answered, switching immediately to Arabic. His voice changed, became softer, more formal. Nadia couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. The way his shoulders tensed, the way he turned slightly away from her, as if creating distance could somehow protect them both from whatever was being said. She kept chopping, slower now, listening to the rhythm of his voice. The conversation grew heated, not angry, but urgent. Omar ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she'd learned meant stress. Ana Fahim, he said, voice tight. I understand. Ana Fahim, Baba, Bas Mishhallah. The call lasted 12 minutes, Nadia counted. When Omar hung up, he stood with his back to her, phone still in his hand. His breathing was audible in the quiet kitchen. Omar? He didn't turn. My father. Is everything okay? Define okay. His laugh was hollow. Nadia set down the knife, wiped her hands on a towel, waited. Finally, Omar turned. His face was carefully blank in a way that made Nadia's chest tighten. There's something I need to tell you, he said. The air in the kitchen felt suddenly thin. Okay. Omar moved to the table, sat down heavily. Nadia followed, sitting across from him. She could see him choosing words, discarding them, choosing again. The marriage my parents had been planning, he started, stopped. It's more concrete than I made it sound. Nadia's hands went cold. They've been talking to the family for over a year. The girl, Amira, her name is Amira, she's been waiting. They've been telling her I'm coming home to meet her. He pressed his palms against his eyes. They've been planning it like it's already decided. But you said you wouldn't. I won't. He looked up, eyes fierce. I meant that. I'm not going to marry someone I've never met to make my parents happy. I'm not going to... He broke off, jaw working. But they don't know that yet. Not really. I've been avoiding the conversation because you what? Because once I tell them, it's real. Once I say no, I'm choosing this life over the idea of who they need me to be. Nadia felt something crack in her chest. When were you going to tell me? I am telling you. You're telling me now because they called, not because you wanted to. Omar flinched. That's not... Isn't it? Nadia stood up. Her chair scraped against the floor too loud. We've been seeing each other for 3 weeks. We've talked every day. And you never mentioned that your parents think you're getting married to someone else. I didn't want to... What? Scare me off? Make it complicated? She heard her voice rising, couldn't stop it. Omar, this is already complicated. We're already in the middle of it. You don't get to protect me from the truth by hiding it. You're right. He stood too, hands out like he was approaching something fragile. You're absolutely right. I should have told you sooner. I was scared and I was selfish, and I'm sorry. The sincerity in his voice took some of the anger out of her, but not all of it. What did your father want? Nadia asked, voice hard. He wants me to come home, to Damascus, for my mother's birthday next month, and to, Omar's jaw tightened, to meet Amira properly. He said it's time to stop avoiding my responsibilities. Are you going? No. Are you sure? Yes. He stepped closer. Nadia, I'm sure. I'm not going to Syria to meet a woman I don't want to marry. I'm not going to pretend this, he gestured between them, isn't happening. But they don't know I exist. Omar went still. No. And they don't know you're refusing the marriage because of me. They don't know I'm refusing it because I get to choose my own life. You're not the reason. You're just... What? Nadia wrapped her arms around herself. I'm just what? The first thing I've chosen for myself in 8 years. The words hung in the air between them. Nadia wanted to stay angry, wanted to walk out. But looking at Omar's face, the exhaustion, the fear, the desperate honesty, she couldn't. I need you to tell them, she said quietly. I will. Soon. I promise. Nadia moved to the door, picked up her jacket. Omar watched her, body tense like he wanted to reach out but didn't dare. Where are you going? He asked. Home. She pulled on her jacket. I need to think. Nadia. I'm not leaving, she said, softer now. I just need space to process this. He nodded. Looked like he wanted to say more, but knew better. At the door, Nadia paused, looked back. Omar was standing in the middle of his kitchen, hands at his sides, looking more lost than she'd ever seen him. For what it's worth, she said, I would have understood if you'd told me from the beginning. I know. So trust me next time. I will. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Outside, the hallway was cold and too bright. Nadia leaned against the wall, closed her eyes, and tried to breathe through the tangle in her chest. She believed him. That was the terrifying part. She believed he would tell his family, believed he was choosing her. But she also knew choosing was only the first step, and the hardest parts were still coming. Maya's kitchen smelled like cardamom and garlic. Something was simmering on the stove, filling the small space with warmth and spice. Rain tapped against the windows in a steady rhythm. Nadia sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of chai, and told Maya everything. Maya listened without interrupting, stirring her pot occasionally, her face thoughtful. She was older than Nadia by 5 years, had been her friend since architecture school. Indian parents, Mexican husband, 2 kids who spoke 3 languages and belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. When Nadia finished, Maya turned off the stove and sat down across from her. So, you're in love with him? Nadia opened her mouth, closed it. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Maya smiled gently. I know that look. It's too soon to be in love. Is it? Nadia stared into her tea. The surface rippled when her hands shook slightly. I barely know him. You know the important things. Maya reached across the table, squeezed Nadia's hand. But here's what I need to tell you. It's not romantic, and you're not going to like it. Okay? Love isn't the question. Maya's voice was serious now. The question is, can you both be brave enough to keep choosing each other when it gets hard? You make it sound impossible. No, just difficult. Maya pulled her hand back, picked up her own mug. You know Carlos and I are in counseling, right? Nadia blinked. No, I didn't. We've been going for 2 months. Maya's smile was sad. We love each other. That's not the issue. The issue is we're fighting about everything. How to raise the kids, how much time to spend with extended family, whose culture gets priority during holidays. Maya, I'm not telling you this to scare you. Maya's eyes were gentle but firm. I'm telling you because you need to know. When Carlos and I got married, I thought love would be enough. I thought if we wanted it badly enough, we could just figure it out. But you can't? We can, we are, but it's work, real work, every single day. Maya stirred her chai absently. Last week we had a huge fight because his mother wants the kids to call her abuela, but my mother wants Dadi. It sounds so stupid saying it out loud, but in the moment it felt like the end of the world. Because it's not really about what the kids call their grandmothers. It's about whose family gets to claim them more. Nadia set down her mug. Are you going to be okay? I think so. We're trying. Maya's voice was steady. But some days I wonder if maybe the gap is too wide. If maybe we were naive to think we could bridge it. The rain outside intensified. Someone shouted on the street, muffled through the windows. "Why are you telling me this?" Nadia asked quietly. "Because I want you to go into this with your eyes open." Maya leaned forward. "Omar sounds wonderful, and the way you talk about him, I haven't seen you this alive in years. But you're not just choosing him. You're choosing a life where you'll have to fight for your relationship against both your families, where your kids, if you have kids, will be caught in the middle, where every holiday, every tradition, every big decision will be a negotiation." "I know that." "Do you?" Maya's voice wasn't unkind, because knowing it intellectually and living it are two different things. Nadia thought about her mother's voice on the phone, the disappointment that hummed through every conversation, the weight of expectation that pressed down on her chest at every family gathering. "I don't want to give him up," Nadia said. "Then don't," Maya smiled. "But don't give yourself up either. That's the real trick, figuring out how to honor both sides without losing who you are." "Have you figured it out?" "Not yet, but I'm trying." Maya stood, went back to the stove. "And that's all any of us can do, right? Keep trying." Nadia stayed in Maya's kitchen for another hour. They talked about lighter things, work, books, the terrible Netflix show they were both hate-watching. But underneath, Nadia felt the weight of Maya's words settling into her bones. When she finally left, the rain had stopped. The streets were slick and dark, reflecting the city lights in fractured pieces. Nadia walked to her car, got in, but didn't start the engine. She sat in the silence, hands on the steering wheel, and thought about bridges, about the distance between two shores, about whether love was enough to span the gap, or if you needed something more, something like courage, like stubbornness, like faith in something you couldn't see yet. Her phone buzzed. "Omar. Omar. Can we talk?" "Nadia. Tomorrow. I need tonight to think." "Omar. Okay, I'm here when you're ready." She set the phone down, started the car, drove home through empty streets, the city quiet around her like a held breath. The Kozlov house smelled the way it always did. Cabbage and butter, old wood, something floral Nadia couldn't name. Her mother had cooked too much, as always. Pierogi, bigos, cucumber salad, fresh bread. The table was crowded with dishes. Nadia sat in her usual spot, the chair that had been hers since childhood. Her father at the head of the table, her mother across from her older brother Piotr to her left. Piotr had his girlfriend with him this time, Anna, blonde and sweet and appropriately Polish. Their mother loved her. "So," her father said in Polish, cutting his meat with careful precision, "your mother and I have been talking to the Kowalskis." Nadia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Their son Jakub is coming to dinner next Sunday," her mother continued, also in Polish, not looking at Nadia. "He's an accountant, very stable, good family." "Mama, just dinner, Kohanya, just to meet." Nadia set down her fork. "I told you I'm not interested. You haven't even met him." "I don't need to meet him." Her father's voice hardened. "Nadia, your mother went to a lot of trouble." "I didn't ask her to." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Piotr shot Nadia a look. "Careful," it said. Anna studied her plate with intense focus. Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "You're 28 years old," her father said, switching to English now, the words sharp. "It's time to settle down. Find someone appropriate." "Appropriate," Nadia repeated the word, tasting its weight. "Yes, someone who understands where you come from, who you are." "Who you are?" Nadia wanted to laugh, wanted to scream. They had no idea who she was. They only knew who they wanted her to be. She thought about Omar, the way he listened when she talked about feeling split in two, the way he didn't try to fix her, just held space for all her contradictions. "I'm seeing someone," Nadia said. The silence was immediate and total. Her mother's fork clattered against her plate. "Who? Does it matter?" Of course it matters, her father said. Is he Polish? Nadia met his eyes. No. American? He lives in America. Nadia. Her mother's voice was strained. Where is he from? Syria. The word landed like a stone in still water. Her father pushed back from the table. Her mother made a small sound, shock or pain or both. Pyotr stared at Nadia, his expression unreadable. Absolutely not, her father said. I wasn't asking permission. You're not going to see him anymore. I'm 28 years old. Nadia's voice was steady now, angry. You don't get to tell me who I can see. We can if you're going to make a fool of yourself, her mother said, voice rising. What do you think people will say? What do you think our community? I don't care what they say. Well, you should. Her father's voice was cold now. You should care about your family, about our reputation, about everything we've done for you. Nadia stood up, her chair scraped against the floor. I love you both, but I'm not going to live my life to make you comfortable. Nadia, Pyotr started, but she was already moving, grabbing her jacket from the hook by the door. If you walk out that door, her father said, voice like iron, don't bother coming back until you've come to your senses. Nadia turned, looked at her father's stern face, her mother's tears, Pyotr's careful blankness. She thought about being 8 years old in this house, speaking Polish at home and English at school, never quite fitting anywhere. She thought about every Sunday dinner where she'd swallowed her real thoughts and nodded at the right moments. She thought about the gallery, the bridge, Omar's hand in hers. Okay, she said quietly. Then she left. Outside, the air was cold and clean. Nadia stood on the porch, breathing hard, her hands shaking. Behind her, she could hear Ray's voices in Polish, her parents arguing, her mother crying. Her phone buzzed. Pyotr, I'm sorry. Nadia stared at the message, waited for more. Nothing came. She got in her car and drove. Not home, not to Omar's, just drove, windows down despite the cold, letting the city rush past. Trees stripped bare, houses lit from within, other families having other Sunday dinners. She thought about her mother's face when she said Syria, the instant shutdown, the fear masquerading as protection. Nadia's own phone call came back to her, her mother's voice. We found someone for you. Good Polish family. Good Polish family. As if those 3 words were supposed to be enough. As if they could sum up everything a person needed to be happy. Nadia pulled into an empty parking lot, killed the engine, sat in the silence. Her phone lit up. Omar. Omar. Hey, how was dinner? Nadia stared at the message, thought about lying, about saying it was fine, avoiding the conversation for another day. Then she thought about what Maya had said, about choosing bravery. Nadia, we need to talk. Omar, come over? Nadia, on my way. She started the car. The city blurred past her windows, lights smearing in her peripheral vision. She thought about bridges again, about the distance between one shore and another, about whether she was strong enough to cross it. They met at the bridge, their bridge, the place where everything had shifted. Omar was already there when Nadia arrived, leaning against the railing, hands in his pockets. The city sprawled below them, a constellation of lights against the dark. Hey, he said when he saw her. Hey. They stood side by side, not touching, both looking out at the water. I told my parents about you, Nadia said. Omar went very still. How did they? Exactly how you'd expect. Her laugh was bitter. My father told me not to come back until I come to my senses. Nadia, it's fine. I knew it would go badly. I didn't think it would hurt this much. Omar turned to face her fully. I'm sorry. Don't be. This isn't your fault. Feels like it is. Nadia finally looked at him. His expression was pained, guilty. She hated that look. I chose this, she said firmly. I chose to tell them. I chose you. Something in Omar's face cracked open. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. She stepped closer, closing the space between them. Because hiding was killing me, and I refused to spend my life pretending. Omar's hands found her face, gentle, reverent. What do we do now? I don't know. Nadia leaned into his touch. But I know I'm not ready to give up. Me neither. Even though it's going to be hard. Especially because it's going to be hard. They kissed, soft and slow. Not desperate this time. Certain. When they pulled apart, Omar kept his forehead pressed to hers. I'm going to tell my parents too. This week. No more hiding. Are you sure? I'm terrified. He smiled slightly. But yeah, I'm sure. Nadia pulled back just enough to see his face clearly. They might cut you off. I know. You might lose your family. I know that too. His voice was steady. But I already lost my sister. I already know what it feels like to have someone ripped away. And I'd rather choose this loss, if it comes to that, than lose you by my own cowardice. Nadia's eyes stung. That's not fair. You shouldn't have to choose. But I do. We both do. Omar's thumb brushed her cheekbone. And I'm choosing you. They stood on the bridge for a long time, wrapped in each other, the cold wind buffeting them from all sides. Below, the river kept moving. Above, clouds hid the stars. I'm scared, Nadia whispered. Me too. What if we're not strong enough? Then we fail together. Omar pulled her closer. But I don't think we will. How do you know? Because you stood up to your parents for the first time in your life. Because I'm about to do the same. Because we're already braver than we were a month ago. Nadia thought about that. About the woman she'd been before the gallery, before Omar, before she'd started choosing herself. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay, let's do this. Let's be brave. Omar smiled, that real smile that reached his eyes and made her chest feel warm despite the cold. Together? He asked. Together. They kissed again, sealing the promise. Around them, the city kept breathing. Cars crossed the bridge, headlights sweeping past. The world kept turning, indifferent to two people trying to build something real in the middle of all its noise. But they stood there anyway, holding on, holding each other up. When they finally left, walking hand in hand to Omar's apartment, Nadia looked back once at the bridge. It looked ordinary in the dark, just metal and concrete spanning water. But it wasn't ordinary to her. It was the place she'd decided to stop being afraid. The place she'd chosen to cross. October became November. November bled into December. They met in cafes on the other side of the city, far from anyone who might know their families. Coffee at small tables tucked in corners. Conversation that lasted hours. Omar's knee pressed against hers under the table, the only physical contact they could risk in public. They texted constantly. Good morning. How's your day? Thinking about you. Lines that felt inadequate for what was really happening between them. At night, Nadia lay in bed and listened to Omar's voice through her phone. He told her about the article he was writing, about the editor who kept asking for revisions, about the way his apartment smelled like old coffee and new paper. She told him about the building design she was stuck on, about the client who wanted traditional but modern, about the strange loneliness of her empty apartment. They didn't talk about their families. On a Tuesday, they met at his apartment. Nadia arrived after dark, parked 2 blocks away. Omar opened the door before she could knock, pulled her inside like they were committing a crime. Maybe they were. Maybe love was always a crime when it refused to fit into the boxes other people built. They made dinner together. Omar taught her how to make fattoush, laughing when she cut the pita wrong. She showed him her grandmother's pierogi recipe, the one she'd memorized before her grandmother died. This is good, Omar said, mouthful. Don't talk with your mouth full. Yes, ma'am. They ate at his small table, talked about movies they wanted to see, places they'd never been, normal things. as if they were normal people who didn't have to hide. After dinner, they sat on his couch. Omar pulled Nadia close, her head on his chest, his heartbeat steady under her ear. "I told them," he said quietly. Nadia went still. "Your parents?" "Last week, I called them. Said I wasn't interested in the marriage they'd arranged." "What did they say?" "My father hung up on me. My mother cried." His voice was flat, controlled. "They haven't called back." Nadia sat up, turned to face him. His expression was carefully blank, but she could see the pain underneath. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be." He touched her face. "This is the right thing. It just doesn't feel good yet." "Will it ever?" "I don't know." They sat in the silence. The radiator clanked. Someone walked past in the hallway outside. "My parents still aren't speaking to me either," Nadia said. "Except Pyotr. He texts sometimes, asks if I'm okay." "Are you?" She thought about the ache in her chest every time she drove past her parents' neighborhood, about the holidays approaching with no invitation, no place to go. "I don't know either," she admitted. Omar pulled her back into his arms. They stayed like that, holding each other in the dim apartment, two people trying to be enough for each other when the rest of the world had turned away. Outside, snow started to fall, the first of the season. Nadia watched it through Omar's window, white against the dark, covering everything in silence. Maya's text came on a Thursday evening. "Maya, can you come over? I need to talk." Nadia arrived to find Maya alone. No kids shouting, no Carlos in the kitchen, just Maya at the table, eyes red, a cup of tea gone cold in front of her. "Where is everyone?" Nadia asked, sitting down. "Carlos took the kids to his mother's for the weekend." Maya's voice was hoarse. We needed space." Nadia's stomach dropped. "What happened?" Maya laughed without humor. "Everything. Nothing. The same fight we've been having for 6 months, just louder this time." She explained haltingly. The issue with the kids' names had expanded. Carlos's mother wanted to take them to Mexico for Christmas. Maya's parents wanted them for Diwali. Everyone had opinions about language, about food, about what traditions mattered most. "We had this huge fight last night," Maya continued, staring at her tea, "about how to raise them. Carlos thinks I'm being too rigid about Hindi lessons. I think he's letting his family take over. We're both angry all the time. But you love each other. That's what makes it worse." Maya finally looked up, eyes fierce. "I love him so much it hurts. But I can't stop resenting him. For not understanding. For not fighting harder with his family when they dismiss my culture. For making me feel like I have to choose between being a good wife and being true to myself." Nadia reached across the table, took Maya's hand. "We're starting counseling," Maya said. "Or trying to. If we can even agree on a therapist. You'll figure it out." "Will we?" Maya's voice cracked. "I thought love would be enough, Nadia. I really did. But it's not. It's not enough when you're fighting about everything, when every decision feels like a battleground." Nadia thought about Omar, about the easy hours they spent together, about how simple everything felt when it was just the two of them. But it wasn't just the two of them. It was never just the two of them. There were families and expectations and entire histories pressing in from all sides. "I'm not telling you to give up," Maya said, reading Nadia's face. I'm telling you it's harder than I ever imagined. And some days I wonder if maybe the bridge really is too wide." After Nadia left, she sat in her car for 20 minutes before starting the engine. She thought about Maya's red eyes, about Carlos taking the kids away for the weekend, about love not being enough. Her phone buzzed. "Omar, dinner at mine tonight?" Nadia, "I don't know. I'm tired." Omar, "Everything okay?" Nadia, "Can we talk tomorrow?" Omar, "Of course. I'm here if you need me." She drove home in silence. The city lights blurred. She thought about bridges and distance, and whether wanting something badly enough could actually make it work. She didn't have an answer. The restaurant was 40 minutes outside the city. Far enough, they thought. Safe. They were wrong. Nadia saw Pyotr before he saw her. He walked in with his girlfriend Anna, both dressed nicely, clearly on a date. Her heart stopped. She reached for Omar's hand under the table, squeezed hard. "What?" Omar asked. "My brother, don't look." But it was too late. Pyotr's eyes swept the restaurant, landed on their table, on Nadia, on Omar, on their joined hands. Everything stopped. Pyotr's expression went through a series of changes. Surprise, understanding, something else Nadia couldn't read. Anna was talking to the hostess, oblivious. "Should we leave?" Omar asked quietly. "He already saw us." Pyotr said something to Anna, who turned, spotted Nadia. Her eyebrows rose. Then Pyotr was walking toward their table. Nadia's pulse hammered in her ears. "Nadia," Pyotr said when he reached them. His voice was carefully neutral. Pyotr, his eyes moved to Omar, assessed, calculated. "I'm Omar," Omar said, extending his hand. Pyotr looked at the offered hand for a long moment. Then he shook it, brief, formal. "Pyotr, Nadia's brother." The silence was excruciating. "We should," Anna started from behind Pyotr. "Give us a minute," Pyotr said, not looking away from Nadia. Anna retreated to the hostess stand. Pyotr pulled out the chair across from them, sat down uninvited. Omar's hand tightened on Nadia's under the table. "So," Pyotr said, "this is him?" "Yes." "How long?" 2 months. Pyotr nodded slowly. His expression wasn't angry. It was something more complicated, something almost like understanding. "They're going to find out eventually," Pyotr said. "You know that." "I know. And when they do, it's going to be bad." "I know that too." Pyotr leaned back, studying them both. "You love him?" The question hung in the air, direct, unavoidable. "Yes," Nadia said. Omar's hand went still in hers. Pyotr turned to Omar. "You love her?" "Yes," Omar said without hesitation. "You know what you're asking her to give up?" "I'm not asking her to give up anything." Omar's voice was firm. "That's on them." "Fair point," Pyotr stood. "I'm not going to tell them, but Nadia, this isn't going to stay secret much longer." "I know." He looked at her for a long moment, then quietly, "I'm sorry. About how they reacted before, about everything." "Pyotr, I was engaged once," he said suddenly, "before Anna, to a girl I met in college. She wasn't Polish. Our parents made me choose." His jaw tightened. "I chose them, and I've regretted it every day since." Nadia stared at her brother. She'd never known, never even suspected. "So yeah," Pyotr continued, "I get it. And I think you're braver than I was." He looked at Omar. "Both of you." Then he turned and walked back to Anna, who was watching with wide eyes. Nadia and Omar sat frozen. "Did that just happen?" Omar finally asked. "I think so." Her phone was already buzzing. She pulled it out with shaking hands. "Mama, call me. Now. Mama. Nadia, pick up the phone. Mama, if you don't call me in the next hour, I'm coming to your apartment." "They know," Nadia whispered. Omar's face went pale. "How?" Pyotr said, "Someone else must have seen us. Someone from the community." Her hands were shaking. "Omar, they know." The phone kept buzzing, more texts, then a call, then another. "Don't answer," Omar said. "I have to." "Not here, not now." He threw money on the table, stood, pulled her up. "Let's go." They left the restaurant quickly, ignoring the stairs. In the parking lot, Nadia's phone was still ringing. Her mother's name lit up the screen, again and again. Omar drove. Nadia sat in the passenger seat, phone clutched in her hand, watching it ring. "What do I do?" she asked. "Whatever you need to." "What if they—" "We'll handle it." Omar's voice was steady, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Together. We'll handle it together." But Nadia could hear the fear underneath his certainty, could feel her own rising to match it. The phone rang again. This time she answered. The house looked the same as always. Warm light in the windows, her father's car in the driveway. But Nadia's hands shook as she reached for the doorbell. The door flew open before she could press it. Her mother stood there, face red, eyes swollen. Inside, now! Nadia walked into the house she'd grown up in. It felt foreign now, hostile. Her father was in the living room, pacing. Piotr sat on the couch, head in his hands. Anna was gone. Sit, her father ordered. Nadia remained standing. I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one. His voice was ice. How could you do this to us? I'm not doing anything to you. You're seeing that. Her mother couldn't even finish the sentence. After we told you no, after we made it clear, you don't get to control my life. We're your parents, her mother shouted. The sound made Nadia flinch. We know what's best for you. No, you don't. Her father stepped closer, looming. End it, tonight. Call him and end it. No, Nadia, no. Her voice was stronger now. I love him. Her mother made a sound like she'd been struck. Her father's face went purple. You don't know what love is, he said. You're infatuated. You're being selfish and reckless. I'm being honest. Nadia felt tears building but refused to let them fall. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing what I want instead of what you want. And what about what we want? Her mother asked, voice breaking. What about this family? What about our reputation in the community? I don't care about the community. Well, you should, her mother's voice rose. Because they're talking. Everyone's talking. The Kowalskis, the Nowaks, everyone at church. They're all asking questions, making assumptions. Let them talk. Nadia, please, her mother was crying now. Please just think about what you're doing. Think about your future. Children from these mixed marriages, they don't belong anywhere. They're confused, lost. Like me? The words came out sharp. Like I've been my whole life. Polish in America, American in Poland, never quite right for anyone? Her mother flinched. You did that to me, Nadia continued, voice shaking. You brought me here and then spent 20 years trying to pretend we never left. You wanted me to be Polish enough for you, but American enough to succeed. I've spent my entire life trying to be both, and feeling like neither. So don't talk to me about confused children. Silence. Then her mother spoke, voice soft and broken. I had someone once, before your father. Everyone turned to stare at her. His name was Andreas. He was Greek. We met at university in Warsaw. Her mother's hands twisted in her lap. I loved him. My parents forbade it, said I would bring shame on the family. So she swallowed hard. I ended it. I married your father instead, a good Polish man. Her father's expression was stone. And I've regretted it every day of my life, her mother continued, tears streaming. Not marrying your father, I love your father, but giving up my own choice, living with that what if. She looked at Nadia, eyes desperate. I don't want that for you. That's why I'm trying to protect you. By making me do the same thing? Nadia's voice cracked. By forcing me to give up the person I love? It's different. It's exactly the same. Nadia felt something break open in her chest. You're projecting your regret onto me. You gave up, so you think I should too. But I'm not you, Mama. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? Her mother sobbed. Her father stood rigid, face unreadable. Piotr finally spoke, voice quiet. She's right. Everyone looked at him. I told you, Piotr said, looking at their parents. I warned you this would happen, that if you kept pushing, you'd lose her. Stay out of this, their father snapped. No, Piotr stood. He looked at Nadia, then at their parents. I was engaged before Anna. Did you know that? To Sarah. She wasn't Polish. You made me choose. His voice hardened. And I chose wrong. I chose you. And it broke something in me. Their mother's face crumbled. Piotr. She's braver than I was, Piotr said, gesturing to Nadia. So maybe instead of punishing her, you should ask yourself why both your children would rather risk losing you than live the lives you want for us. The silence was devastating. Nadia's father turned away, shoulders stiff. Her mother covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I'm leaving, Nadia said quietly, and I'm not coming back until you can accept that my life is my own. If you walk out that door, her father started, then I walk out. Nadia's voice was steady now, certain. I love you both, but I won't sacrifice myself to make you comfortable. She turned, headed for the door. Nadia, wait, her mother called. But Nadia didn't wait. She walked out into the cold night, got in her car, and drove away from the house she'd grown up in. Behind her, through the rearview mirror, she saw the front door still open, light spilling out, her mother silhouetted in the doorway. But she didn't turn back. She drove to Omar's apartment. He opened the door, one look at her face, and pulled her inside without a word. It's done, she whispered into his chest. They know, and they're not okay with it. I'm sorry. Don't be. This is what choosing feels like. They stood in his doorway holding each other while the world outside kept turning. Somewhere, Nadia's parents were probably still arguing. Somewhere, her mother was probably still crying. But Nadia was here, in Omar's arms, on the other side of the choice. And despite everything, despite the pain and the loss and the uncertainty, she knew it was the right one. The call came at 3 a.m. Omar woke to his phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand. Nadia stirred beside him but didn't wake. He grabbed it, saw his mother's name, and his heart dropped. Mama? He answered in Arabic, voice rough with sleep. His mother was crying. Your father, he's in the hospital. Omar sat up, fully awake now. What happened? His heart. The doctor says stable, but... Her voice broke. Omar, you need to come home. Please, your father is asking for you. The guilt hit him like a physical blow. He thought of their last conversation, his father's angry silence, the phone calls that had stopped coming. I'll look into flights, Omar said. And Omar? His mother's voice was soft, careful. Amira's family will be there. Her father wants to discuss the future. Everything in him went cold. Mama, I told you. I know what you said, but your father is sick. This is not the time for stubbornness. Amira is a good girl. She's been waiting. I don't love her. Love comes with time. That's not how it works. Omar, please. His mother was crying again. Your father's heart is weak. This stress, don't make it worse. After he hung up, Omar sat in the dark, phone in his hand, feeling like he was being torn in two. Nadia shifted beside him, woke. What's wrong? He told her. About his father, the hospital, the unspoken ultimatum in his mother's voice. You have to go, Nadia said immediately. I don't want to leave you, not now. Omar, he's your father. She sat up, took his hand. Go, be with him. They're going to push the marriage. Then tell them no. It's not that simple. If he's sick, if the stress... Omar pressed his palms against his eyes. I can't be responsible for... You're not responsible for his choices. Nadia's voice was firm. You're only responsible for yours. But Omar thought about his sister, about the phone call he'd been too far away to receive, about arriving too late, always too late, about promises he'd made to take care of the family, to honor her memory by keeping them together. I have to go, he said finally. I know, but I'm coming back, to you. I believe you. But there was something in her voice, a tremor, a doubt, that made his chest tighten. He booked a flight for that evening, spent the day packing, making arrangements. Nadia helped, moving through his apartment like she belonged there. folding his clothes, making him tea. They didn't talk much. There wasn't much to say. At the airport, they stood by the security line, holding each other while travelers streamed past. 2 weeks, Omar promised. I'll handle it and come back. Take care of your father. I will, but Nadia, he pulled back, held her face. Nothing changes, okay? No matter what they say, no matter what they push for, nothing changes. Okay. They kissed, long and deep and desperate. When Omar finally walked through security, he looked back once. Nadia stood where he'd left her, small in the crowd, one hand raised in goodbye. He had the terrible feeling he was walking away from more than just the airport. The hospital in Damascus smelled like antiseptic and old regrets. Omar's father lay in a bed, looking smaller than Omar remembered. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped steadily. His mother sat beside the bed, eyes red, rosary in her hands. Baba, Omar said softly. His father's eyes opened. For a moment there was only recognition. Then the hardness returned. You came. Of course I came. Your mother said you wouldn't, said you were too busy with your American life. Omar pulled up a chair, sat. I'll always come when you need me. His father studied him. But you won't come when I ask you to meet a good woman. Won't come when your family needs you to do your duty. Baba, that's not. Your mother is worried sick. Your brother asks when you're coming home. And you're there, living like you have no family at all. The guilt was crushing. Omar thought about Nadia, about her text that morning, about how much he missed her already. I have a life there, Omar said carefully. A life or a woman? Omar went still. His father's expression softened slightly. You think I don't know? Your mother knows too. We're not blind. Then you know why I can't marry Amira. I know you're being selfish. His father's voice was weak but firm. Your sister died, Omar. Our family is broken. And all we're asking is that you help rebuild it. Help give us something to hold on to. By marrying someone I don't love? By honoring your family, your culture, the sacrifices we made so you could have opportunities. Omar felt tears building. I'm not trying to abandon you. Then why does it feel like you are? They sat in silence. Machines beeped. Somewhere down the hall, someone cried out. Come to dinner tonight, his father said finally. Amira's family will be there. Just meet her. For me. Omar wanted to refuse. Wanted to stand up, walk out, fly back to Nadia. But his father looked so small in that hospital bed. So tired. Okay, Omar heard himself say. One dinner. That night he sat across from Amira at his parents' house. She was pretty, soft-spoken, exactly the kind of woman his parents had dreamed of for him. She smiled at the right times, laughed at his father's jokes, helped his mother serve tea. She was perfectly nice. She wasn't Nadia. After dinner, Omar's mother pulled him aside. She's lovely, isn't she? Mama, just think about it, please. Your father needs this hope right now. He needs me to live a lie? His mother's expression crumpled. He needs you to be part of this family. That night, Omar sat in his childhood bedroom and opened his laptop, started writing an email to Nadia. He wrote everything, about the hospital, his father, the dinner with Amira, about the crushing guilt, the weight of expectation, about how much he missed her, how wrong everything felt without her. He wrote, I'm coming back, no matter what they say, no matter how hard they push. I choose you. I choose us. 2 weeks, and I'll be home. He hit send and prayed it was enough. Nadia read Omar's email 3 times. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, coffee growing cold beside her. Outside, rain tapped against the window in an irregular rhythm. I choose you. I choose us. Simple words, true words. So why did they feel hollow? Nadia thought about her own family dinner. The things her mother had said about regret, about protection, about love not being enough. She thought about Maya, about the couple's counseling, about bridges too wide to build. She thought about Omar sitting at a table with Amira, being polite, being present, while Nadia sat alone in her apartment an ocean away. Her phone rang. Omar's name. She let it go to voicemail. It rang again. And again. Finally, she answered. "Hi. You got my email?" His voice was tight with stress. "Yeah. So, we're okay?" Were they? Nadia looked around her apartment, empty, quiet, the life she'd built alone. "Tell me again," she said. "Tell me you're coming back. 2 weeks, I promise. And if your father's condition gets worse?" Silence. "Omar, then I don't know." His voice cracked. "I can't watch another person I love die while I'm too far away to help." Nadia closed her eyes. "I understand." "Do you?" Yes. And she did. That was the problem. She understood too well. Understood that family was a chain that never fully released you. Understood that duty and love were tangled together in ways that couldn't be easily separated. They talked for another 20 minutes. Surface things. His father's recovery, her latest project at work. Neither of them addressed the distance that was growing between them like a living thing. When they hung up, Nadia sat in the silence of her apartment. Days passed. A week. Omar sent emails, shorter now, more distracted. Video calls that felt stilted, careful. He looked exhausted in every frame, shadows under his eyes, something haunted in his expression. Omar. "My father is better, coming home soon." Nadia. "That's good." Omar. "You okay?" Nadia. "Yeah, just tired." She wasn't tired. She was drowning. In doubt, in fear, in the terrible certainty that choosing love meant choosing pain. Maya's voice echoed in her head. "Some bridges are too wide to build." At work, Nadia stared at her drafting table, unable to focus. She thought about architecture, about the math of weight and stress, about how structures collapsed when the tension exceeded their capacity to hold, about how maybe people did too. Her mother called. Nadia didn't answer. Piotr texted. "Piotr, Mom wants to talk to you." Nadia. "Tell her I'm busy." Piotr. "She's trying, Nadia. She really is." But Nadia couldn't think about her mother right now, could barely think about anything except the hollow feeling in her chest. Another week passed. Omar's return date came and went. Omar. "Visa issues. Paperwork got complicated. Might be another few weeks." Nadia. "Okay." Omar. "I'm sorry." Nadia. "It's fine." But it wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. Nadia walked through her days like a ghost. Work, home, sleep that never came. She stopped answering Omar's calls, responding only to texts, keeping her messages short. She told herself she wasn't pulling away. She was just protecting herself, building walls so that when the inevitable happened, when Omar realized his family needed him more than she did, she wouldn't shatter completely. One night she stood at her window and watched the city lights, thought about Omar somewhere in Damascus, dealing with his father's recovery, his family's expectations, the weight of grief and duty. Thought about herself, alone in an apartment that had never felt like home. She wondered if this was what her mother had meant, if this was what regret felt like before it fully formed. The slow, dawning realization that choosing love meant choosing to be vulnerable, and vulnerability meant risking everything. Her phone buzzed. Omar. "I miss you. Call me when you can." Nadia stared at the message, thought about calling, about hearing his voice, about the temporary relief it would bring before the distance crashed back in. She set the phone down, didn't call. Maya's call came at midnight. "Can you come over?" Her voice was wrong, flat, distant. "What's wrong?" "Just, please." Nadia threw on clothes, drove through empty streets. Maya's house was dark except for one light in the kitchen. Nadia let herself in. She had a key for emergencies. Maya sat at the table, still in her work clothes, mascara smudged. Where are the kids? Carlos's mother's, for the week. Maya. We're separating. The words came out mechanical. Temporarily, maybe permanently. We don't know yet. Nadia sat down slowly. What happened? Maya laughed, the sound broken. Everything, nothing. Another fight about the kids, about whose culture matters more, about whether we're raising them right. And she pressed her hands over her face. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep defending my choices, my identity, my family. So I told him I needed space. He left? I asked him to. Maya looked up, eyes hollow. We love each other, Nadia. That's the worst part. We still love each other so much. But we can't stop hurting each other. Every conversation turns into a fight. Every decision becomes a battle. Can you fix it? I don't know. Maya's voice broke. The therapist says we need to work on communication, on respecting boundaries. But how do you respect a boundary when it means erasing part of who you are? How do you compromise on identity? Nadia had no answer. I thought we were strong enough, Maya whispered. I thought if we loved each other enough, we could figure out the rest. But maybe love isn't enough. Maybe sometimes the gap is just too wide, and you're both too tired to keep building. She sobbed then, and Nadia moved around the table, held her friend while she fell apart. Later, after Maya had cried herself out and fallen into exhausted sleep on the couch, Nadia sat in the dark kitchen. She thought about Omar, about visa delays and family obligations, about how easy it was to promise forever when you were standing on the same bridge, holding hands, pretending the rest of the world didn't exist, about how much harder it was when reality pressed in from all sides. Her phone buzzed. Omar, please call me. I need to hear your voice. Nadia stared at the message, thought about Maya's tear-stained face, thought about her mother's regret, thought about all the ways love could hurt when you let it. She didn't call. The email came on a Tuesday. Nadia was at work, staring blankly at a blueprint that refused to make sense, when her phone chimed. Omar, need to talk. Can you call? Her hands went cold. She stepped outside, dialed. Hey, Omar answered, sounding exhausted. What's wrong? The visa situation is worse than I thought. There's an issue with my documentation. The lawyer says it could take months to sort out. Months. Months? Nadia repeated. Maybe less, maybe more. It's complicated, he sighed. My father's getting better, but the recovery is slow. My mother needs help. My brother's in school. I can't just abandon them right now. So you're staying? No, I'm delayed. There's a difference. Was there? Nadia closed her eyes, leaned against the building's brick wall. Nadia, say something. What do you want me to say? That you understand, that we're still okay. Are we? Omar went quiet. What does that mean? It means I don't know anymore, Omar. I don't know if we're okay. I don't know if we can survive this. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Her voice was rising now. You're there. I'm here. Your family needs you. Mine won't speak to me. We're living in different worlds and pretending that a few phone calls can bridge the gap. I love you. The words should have helped. They didn't. Love isn't magic, Nadia said, thinking of Maya. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't make the distance shorter or the problems easier. I know that, but it's all we have. Maybe it's not enough. The silence on the other end was deafening. You're giving up, Omar said finally, voice flat. I'm being realistic. No, you're scared, and instead of fighting through it, you're running. I'm not. You are. You've been pulling away for weeks. Short texts, no calls. I can feel you shutting down. His voice cracked. Don't do this. Please. Don't give up on us because it's hard. Nadia felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to hold on to something that feels like it's slipping away, no matter how tight I grip. So hold tighter. I'm tired, Omar. I'm so tired. They sat in silence, connected by a phone line across an ocean, both of them breaking in their own ways. I'm coming back, Omar said finally. I don't know when, but I'm coming back. And when I do, we're going to figure this out, together. What if we can't? Then we can't. But I'm not giving up without trying. After they hung up, Nadia stood outside her office building, watching people pass. Normal people with normal problems. People who probably weren't questioning every choice, every promise, every word. She went back inside, back to the blueprint that wouldn't come together, back to trying to build something that might not want to stand. 3 weeks after Omar left, Nadia finally went to his apartment. The landlord had given her the spare key. Omar had listed her as an emergency contact. She stood outside the door for 5 minutes before she could make herself turn the lock. The apartment was exactly as he'd left it. Coffee mug in the sink, books stacked on the table, his jacket on the back of the chair. It smelled like him, old paper and soap, and something else she couldn't name, something that made her chest ache. Nadia moved through the room slowly, touching things, his favorite coffee, the blanket they'd shared on the couch, the photograph of his sister that he kept by his bed. In his desk drawer, she found a notebook, leather-bound, worn. She knew she shouldn't look, looked anyway. Poetry, pages and pages of it, some in Arabic, some in English, all about loss, about home, about searching. Then she found the recent entries, all dated after they'd met. One made her stop breathing. She is the language I never learned, the country I'll never see, the home I finally chose after years of being chosen for. She thinks I'm here by chance, by timing, by luck. But I crossed every bridge to find her, and I'd cross 1,000 more if it meant she'd be waiting on the other side. Nadia read it again and again, tears blurring the words. She thought about her conversation with him, about telling him love wasn't enough, about pulling away, protecting herself, about fear masquerading as wisdom. She sat on his bed holding the notebook and finally let herself cry. Not quiet tears, ugly, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. For Omar, for herself, for the relationship she was sabotaging because she was too afraid to believe in it. Maya was wrong. The bridge wasn't too wide. Nadia was just scared to cross it. Her phone rang. Omar. This time she answered. I'm sorry, she said before he could speak. For what? For pulling away, for letting fear win, her voice broke, for not fighting hard enough. Nadia, I'm in your apartment. I found your notebook. Silence. Then, you read my terrible poetry? It's not terrible. She laughed through tears. It's beautiful. It's true. I know. She clutched the notebook tighter. I know it is, and I'm sorry I forgot. I'm coming home, Omar said. The visa should clear next week. I'm booking a flight the second it does. What about your father? He's stable. My brother can help. My mother understands, well, she's trying to understand. He paused. I need to come back, Nadia. Not just for you, for me. Because you're right. I have been choosing for everyone else my whole life. And I'm choosing you now. Nadia closed her eyes, let herself feel it. The hope, the terror, the possibility. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Come home, and when you get here, we'll figure out the rest. Together? Together. After they hung up, Nadia sat in Omar's apartment for another hour, watching the light fade through his windows, holding his notebook like a promise. She didn't know if they'd make it, didn't know if love really could bridge the distance between their worlds. But she was willing to try, to be brave, To build something even when the ground was unsteady. Outside, the city turned blue. Inside, Nadia sat in the growing dark and held on to hope. It was small, fragile, uncertain, but it was there. November became December. December turned toward January. Nadia learned how to be alone again. Not the loneliness she'd known before Omar. That had been bearable, familiar. This was different. This was the ache of missing someone specific, the shape of an absence. Work became her refuge. She threw herself into a new project, a community center in a neighborhood that reminded her of her childhood. Mixed architecture, old and new side by side. She spent 14-hour days at the drafting table, chasing perfection she couldn't find. Her apartment stayed too quiet. Some days were easier. She met Maya for coffee. Maya, who was still separated from Carlos, but seeing him twice a week in therapy. Trying. They talked about small things. Work, weather, books neither of them had time to read. Some days were harder. She'd reach for her phone to text Omar about something stupid. A bird she saw, a lyric that reminded her of him, and remember the distance. Remember the time zone that meant when she was awake, he was sleeping. When she was ready to talk, he was with his family. The texts continued, but they were different now, more careful, less frequent. Omar, good morning, hope you slept well. Nadia, thanks, how's your dad? Omar, better, asks about you sometimes. Nadia, that's nice. Words that said everything and nothing. Piotr texted more often, checking in, never pushing, just there. Piotr, Mom's been asking about you. Nadia, tell her I'm fine. Piotr, tell her yourself maybe? But Nadia wasn't ready. The wound was still too fresh. The words her mother had said, about regret, about protection, about not wanting Nadia to suffer like she had, they sat in Nadia's chest like stones. On Christmas Eve, Nadia sat in her apartment alone, watched snow fall outside her window, thought about her childhood, the 12-dish feast, her grandmother's stories, the feeling of belonging to something. Her phone rang at midnight. Omar, Merry Christmas, he said softly. You too. What are you doing? Sitting, watching it snow. You? The same. Well, no snow here, but sitting, thinking about you. They talked for an hour, real conversation this time, not careful politeness. About his father's recovery, about her project at work, about the strangeness of holidays spent apart. I miss you, Omar said. I miss you too. The visa cleared. I have a flight booked for next week. Nadia's breath caught. Really? Really. She could hear his smile. I'm coming home. After they hung up, Nadia sat in the dark, heart racing. Hope was terrifying. It meant letting herself want something again. Meant risking the fall if it didn't work out. But maybe that was the point. Maybe love was always a risk, always a leap. Maybe the only real failure was refusing to jump. Outside, snow kept falling. The city went quiet under its weight. Nadia watched until her eyes grew heavy. When she finally slept, she dreamed of bridges and open doors, and hands reaching across impossible distances. The letter came on a Wednesday. Nadia found it in her mailbox, mixed with bills and junk. Her mother's handwriting on the envelope, careful, precise, the way she'd been taught in Polish schools decades ago. Nadia almost threw it away. Almost. Instead, she took it upstairs, set it on her kitchen table, stared at it while she made coffee. The envelope stayed sealed for an hour before she found the courage to open it. The letter was in Polish, 3 pages front and back, her mother's neat script covering every line. Kochana Nadziu, I don't know if you'll read this, you have every right not to. But I'm writing it anyway because there are things I need to say, and I don't know if I'll ever have the courage to say them to your face. First, I'm sorry for what I said, for how I reacted, for making my fear into your burden. Second, I called Omar's family. Nadia's coffee mug paused halfway to her lips. I know you're angry, but I needed to understand. Needed to know who this man was. Why you would risk so much for him. So I found his mother's number, don't ask how, and I called. We talked for 2 hours. Her English is not so good, my Arabic is non-existent, but we managed. She told me about their family, about the daughter they lost, about Omar, about his guilt, about how he sends money every month even though he barely has enough for himself. She told me he talks about you, that when he mentions you, his voice changes, becomes softer, hopeful. She cried, nods you. This woman I have never met, across an ocean, cried with me, because we are both mothers watching our children choose paths we don't understand, both terrified of losing them. She said something I can't stop thinking about. She said, our children are not ours to keep. They are only ours to love. I thought about Andreas when she said that, about the life I didn't choose because I was too afraid of disappointing my parents, about all the years I spent wondering, what if? I don't want that for you. I never wanted that for you. But I was so scared, Kohanya, scared of you being hurt, scared of you being rejected, scared of you facing the same pain I did, that feeling of never quite belonging anywhere, of always being split in two. I see now that I was wrong. You were already split. We did that to you by bringing you here and then trying to keep you there, by forcing you to choose between Polish and American, between their expectations and ours. Omar's mother said he feels the same way. Syrian in America, American in Syria, never quite home. Maybe that's why you found each other, two people fluent in the language of in-between. I'm not saying I understand. I'm not saying it will be easy, but I'm saying I want to try. I want to meet him. I want to see for myself what kind of man would make my daughter brave enough to walk away from everything she knew. Your father is your father. He's stubborn, but I'm working on him. And Piotr is on your side. Did you know that? He told us about his Sarah, about the choice we forced him to make, about how he's regretted it every day since. I never knew, Nadziu. He never told us. Maybe that's the real tragedy. All of us carrying our regrets in silence, thinking we're protecting each other when really we're just building walls. I don't know if you'll forgive me. I don't know if we can rebuild what was broken, but I'm asking you to try. Come to dinner. Bring Omar when he returns. Let us start again. Kolchamche, Mama. Nadia read the letter 3 times, sat at her table in the weak winter light and cried. For her mother, for herself, for all the years they'd spent misunderstanding each other, for the possibility of something new. Maya showed up at Nadia's door on Saturday morning, looking different, lighter somehow. Carlos and I are trying again, she said without preamble. Nadia pulled her inside. What happened? They sat on the couch, coffee between them, and Maya explained. The therapy was helping, not fixing everything. They still fought, still struggled, but teaching them how to fight differently, how to hear each other through the noise. We realized something, Maya said. We were both trying to win. Every argument, every disagreement, it was about being right, about having our way. But marriage isn't about winning. What's it about? Showing up, every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Maya smiled, tired but genuine. Last week we had a huge fight about Christmas plans. His family wanted us in Mexico, mine wanted us here. We were yelling, saying awful things. What did you do? We stopped, sat down, and instead of arguing about whose family mattered more, we asked ourselves, what do we want? Not what our parents want, not what tradition demands. What do we actually want? And we decided to spend Christmas just us and the kids. No extended family, just our little unit. Maya laughed. Both sets of parents were pissed. But you know what? It felt right. For the first time in months, we made a choice that was about us. Nadia felt something loosen in her chest. So you're going to be okay? I think so. I mean, I don't know. We might still fail, but we're choosing to keep trying, and that feels like enough right now. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Omar's coming back, Nadia said. I know, you told me. I'm terrified. Good, Maya squeezed her hand. Being terrified means you care, means it matters. What if we can't make it work? Then you tried. That's more than most people do, Maya smiled. But I don't think you'll fail. I think you're both too stubborn to give up. That's not always a good thing. It is when you're building something worth having. After Maya left, Nadia sat on her couch and thought about bridges again, about how they didn't build themselves, how someone had to lay each stone, test each support, trust that the structure would hold even when you couldn't see the other side yet, about how maybe love was the same, not a feeling but a choice, made new every morning, every argument, every moment when walking away would be easier than staying. She picked up her phone. Nadia, my mom wants to meet you when you get back. Omar, really? Nadia, really? Are you ready for that? Omar, are you? Nadia, no, but I'm doing it anyway. Omar, that's my girl. Omar called from the airport. I'm boarding in 20 minutes, he said. Nadia sat in her car, phone pressed to her ear, heart hammering. Okay, you'll be there when I land? Yes. Nadia, yeah? I'm nervous. His voice was raw. I'm so nervous I might throw up. Despite everything, she laughed. Me too. What if we've built this up too much? What if we see each other and realize, don't. Nadia's voice was firm. Don't spiral. We'll figure it out when you get here. Promise? Promise. She heard the boarding announcement in the background. Arabic, then English. I have to go, Omar said. I know. I love you. The words still fit, still felt true. I love you too. See you on the other side. After he hung up, Nadia sat in her parked car and tried to breathe. 12 hours. That's how long until his flight landed. 12 hours to prepare for everything to either come together or fall apart. She went home, cleaned her apartment even though it was already clean, changed clothes 3 times, couldn't eat, couldn't sit still. Pyotr texted. Pyotr, Mom told me about the dinner invitation. You okay? Nadia, ask me in 24 hours. Pyotr, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing, both of you. That helped, a little. Maya called. Breathe. Remember to breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. In, out, like that. Nadia laughed, slightly hysterical. This is insane. Why am I this nervous? Because it matters. Because you're choosing to be vulnerable instead of safe. That's always scary. What if? No what ifs. You'll see him. You'll know. Trust that. After Maya hung up, Nadia did breathing exercises, failed at them, gave up. The hours crawled past. 8 hours. 6. 4. Finally, it was time to leave for the airport. Nadia drove through evening traffic, hands tight on the wheel. The city looked the same as always, indifferent, ongoing. But to her, everything felt different. Charged, significant. She parked in the arrivals lot, walked into the terminal, found his gate on the board, landed 15 minutes ago. She positioned herself where she could see passengers emerging, watched families reuniting, businessmen striding past, students stumbling under backpacks. Then she saw him, Omar, pushing through the crowd, duffel bag over his shoulder, looking exhausted and rumpled and beautiful. Their eyes met across the terminal. He dropped his bag, started walking faster, then running. Nadia ran too. They collided in the middle of the terminal, arms wrapped tight, holding on like they might disappear if they let go. You're here, Nadia said into his shoulder. You're actually here. I'm here. His voice was thick. I'm home. They stood like that for a long time, not caring about the people flowing around them, the announcements overhead, the normal chaos of airport arrivals. When they finally pulled apart enough to look at each other, Omar's face was wet with tears. So was Nadia's. "Hi," he said, smiling. "Hi. We have a lot to talk about." "I know. But first," he kissed her, soft, then deeper. "A promise, a beginning. First, I just need to hold you." So she let him. Right there in the airport, surrounded by strangers, she let herself be held. And for the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. They went to their bridge that night. It felt right, coming full circle. Omar drove. He'd missed driving, he said, missed the freedom of it. Nadia sat in the passenger seat, hand in his, watching the city pass. "Tell me," she said, "everything. Start at the beginning." So he did. About the hospital, his father's heart attack, the weight of seeing him so small and vulnerable. About the dinner with Amira's family, the pressure, the guilt that crushed him every time he thought about choosing his own life. "But," Nadia prompted, "but I did it anyway." Omar's hand tightened on hers. "I told them no, told them I loved someone else, told them I was coming back here to build a life." How did they take it? Badly at first. My father didn't speak to me for a week. My mother cried every day. He swallowed hard. But then something shifted. My brother, Hassan, you haven't met him. He said something that changed everything. "What?" He said, "If Rana were still alive, she'd tell you to live, to stop making decisions based on guilt and start making them based on what you actually want." And he was right. My sister wouldn't want me to sacrifice my happiness for some idea of family duty. She'd want me to be brave. Omar pulled into a parking spot near the bridge. They got out, walked to their usual spot in the middle, overlooking the water. "So I made a deal with them," Omar continued, leaning on the railing. "I'll come back once a year. I'll keep sending money to help Hassan with school. I'll video call every week. But I get to live my life. I get to choose who I love." And they agreed? Eventually, my mother called the night before I left, said she understood, said she wanted to meet you, if you're willing. Nadia thought about her own mother's letter, about two mothers oceans apart trying to let go. "My mom wants to meet you too," she said. Omar turned to look at her. "Yeah? Yeah, she wrote me a letter. Told me she called your mom, actually. They talked. My mom mentioned that, said she liked your mother, said she sounded scared, like her." They stood in silence, watching the river move below. The city lights reflected on the dark water, fractured and beautiful. "Are we crazy?" Nadia asked, "trying to make this work with both our families against us?" "They're not against us, not anymore. They're just adjusting." Omar turned to face her fully. "And yeah, maybe we're a little crazy, but I'd rather be crazy with you than sane without you." "That's cheesy." "It's true." Nadia smiled despite herself. "So what now?" "Now we build something. Not perfectly, not easily, but together." He took both her hands. "I can't promise it'll be smooth. I can't promise our families won't make it hard sometimes. But I can promise I'll show up. Every day, even when it's difficult." "I can promise that too." "Then that's enough." The wind picked up, cold against their faces. Nadia shivered, and Omar pulled her close, sharing his warmth. "I'm still scared," she admitted. "Me too," he kissed her forehead. "But we're scared together. That counts for something." "Does it?" "Yeah, it means we're not running away. We're staying and fighting for this." He pulled back to look at her. "That's what love is, isn't it? Not the easy parts. The choice to stay when leaving would be simpler." Nadia thought about her mother's regret, about Maya's separation, about Pyotr's lost love, about all the ways people failed to fight for what mattered. "Okay," she said, "let's do it. Let's build something impossible." Omar smiled, that real smile that reached his eyes. "It's not impossible if we're both building." They kissed on the bridge, The same bridge where they'd first kissed months ago. But it felt different now. Less like a beginning and more like a recommitment. A choice made with open eyes. When they finally left, walking hand in hand back to the car, Nadia looked back once. The bridge stood solid against the dark, connecting two shores, holding firm despite the current below. Maybe they could do the same. The dinner was scheduled for Sunday. Nadia stood outside her parents' house, Omar beside her, trying to remember how to breathe. "We can leave if it gets bad," Omar said quietly. "I know. You don't have to prove anything." "I know that too." She squeezed his hand. "Ready?" "No. You?" "Not even a little." They walked to the door together. Nadia knocked. It felt wrong to use her key after so long. Her mother opened it. They stood looking at each other for a long moment. Then her mother stepped forward and pulled Nadia into a hug. "Kohanya," she whispered, "I'm so glad you came." When they pulled apart, her mother turned to Omar, extended her hand. "Omar, I'm Barbara. It's nice to finally meet you." Omar shook her hand, his relief visible. "Thank you for inviting me." Inside, the house smelled the same: cabbage and butter and home. Her father sat in the living room, Piotr beside him. Both stood when Nadia and Omar entered. Piotr moved first, hugging Nadia, shaking Omar's hand with genuine warmth. "Good to see you again." Her father was harder. He looked older than Nadia remembered, more tired. He looked at Omar for a long moment, assessing. "Sir," Omar said, extending his hand, "thank you for having me." Her father shook it, briefly, but he shook it. They sat down for dinner, the same table Nadia had eaten at her whole life, now with one more chair pulled up. The conversation was stilted at first. Safe topics: weather, work, nothing controversial. Then, over dessert, her mother's makoviets, poppy seed cake, her father spoke. "Omar, your mother tells me you're a journalist." "Yes, sir. I write about immigration, refugee experiences, human interest stories." "That's good work." Her father's voice was carefully neutral. "Important work." "Thank you." Silence. Then, "My wife tells me you lost a sister." Omar's hand tightened on his water glass. "Yes, 8 years ago." "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." More silence. Nadia could feel the tension building, could see her mother's worried face, Piotr's careful attention. "Can I ask you something?" her father said. "Of course." "Why my daughter?" The question hung in the air. Nadia started to speak, but Omar touched her hand gently. "Let me." "Because she sees me," Omar said simply, "not as a tragic story or an immigrant or a Syrian, just me, the whole person. And I see her the same way. You know this won't be easy." "I know. Our community, people will talk, they'll judge." "Let them." Omar's voice was respectful but firm. "With respect, sir, I didn't fall in love with your daughter to make your community comfortable. I fell in love with her because she's brave and honest and refuses to be anything less than herself. And if that makes people uncomfortable, that's their problem, not ours." Nadia's father sat back, surprised. Her mother hid a smile behind her napkin. "You have a sharp tongue," her father said. "Only when necessary." Something passed between them, not agreement exactly, more like acknowledgement. Her father looked at Nadia. "You really love him?" "Yes," Nadia's voice was steady. "I really do. And I'm going to keep loving him whether you accept it or not. But I'm hoping you will, because I want you in my life. I want you to be part of this." Her father's expression softened slightly. "Your mother says I've been stubborn." "You have," Piotr said. "We all have." Her father shot him a look, then sighed. "I don't know if I can give you my blessing." "I'm not asking for your blessing," Nadia said. "I'm asking for your presence, for you to try. That's all." Her mother reached across the table, took her husband's hand. "That's all any of us can do. Try." Her father looked at his wife, then at his children, then at Omar. Finally, reluctantly, he nodded. Okay, he said. We'll try. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was still distance, still discomfort, but it was a start. After dinner, Pyotr pulled Nadia aside in the kitchen. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. For what? For being braver than I was, for not giving up. I almost did, but you didn't. That's what matters. He hugged her. Sarah got married last year. I saw the announcement on Facebook. She looked happy. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was my choice. A bad one. He pulled back, smiled sadly. But watching you fight for Omar, it helps. Reminds me that sometimes the brave choice is worth it, even when it's hard. When they left that night, her mother hugged them both. Her father shook Omar's hand again, longer this time. Sunday dinners, her mother said. You're both invited, every week. We'll be here, Nadia promised. In the car, Omar let out a long breath. That was terrifying. You were perfect. I was scared out of my mind. Me too. Nadia leaned over, kissed him. But we did it. We showed up. First of many times. Yeah, she smiled. First of many. They hosted a dinner 2 weeks later. Not a party, not an announcement, just friends. Maya and Carlos, who were tentatively back together, Pyotr, who brought Anna, a few of Omar's colleagues from the paper, a couple of Nadia's friends from architecture school. Nadia's apartment was too small, but they made it work. People spilled into the kitchen, onto the tiny balcony, sitting on the floor because there weren't enough chairs. Omar and Nadia cooked together, his fattoush, her pierogi, hummus and cucumber salad, bread from the Polish bakery, baklava from the Syrian market. 2 cultures on one table, mixing and complementing. This is amazing, Maya said, mouth full of pierogi. Carlos, try this. Carlos did. His eyes widened. Oh my God. Nadia's grandmother's recipe, Omar said, putting his arm around Nadia's shoulders. She made me memorize it. Worth memorizing, Carlos said, reaching for another. Pyotr raised his glass. A toast to my sister and Omar for being brave enough to build something new. And stubborn enough to make it work, Maya added. Everyone laughed. Glasses clinked. Later, when the food was mostly gone and people were sprawled comfortably around the apartment, someone asked how they met. A gallery, Nadia said. She was arguing with a stranger about a photograph, Omar added, smiling at the memory. You were the stranger. Best argument I ever had. Maya leaned against Carlos, who had his arm around her. They looked tired, but content. Still figuring it out, but figuring it out together. Pyotr caught Nadia's eye across the room, smiled. She smiled back. The evening stretched on, conversation flowing, laughter rising and falling. The apartment was too crowded, too warm, too loud. It was perfect. When people finally started leaving, hugs at the door, promises to do this again soon, Nadia felt something settle in her chest, something like peace. That went well, Omar said, helping her collect dishes. Yeah, it really did. They cleaned in comfortable silence. Nadia washed, Omar dried, a rhythm they'd fallen into without planning. I like your people, Omar said. Our people, Nadia corrected. They're our people now. He smiled at that. Our people, I like the sound of that. When the apartment was clean, they stood on the balcony, looking out at the city. The night was cold but clear. Stars tried to push through the light pollution. You know what I realized tonight? Omar said. What? This is the first time I've felt at home since I left Syria. He pulled her close. Not because of the place, because of the people, because of you. Nadia leaned into him. Home is weird, isn't it? It's not a place, it's a feeling. It's a choice. Yeah, she thought about that. About all the ways they'd chosen each other, over and over. It is. They stood like that for a while, wrapped together against the cold, watching their city breathe. 3 months later, Nadia and Omar stood on their bridge again. It was late. The city was quiet in that way it only got after midnight, when even the insomniacs and shift workers had found their own corners to rest in. They'd had dinner with Nadia's parents earlier. Her father had asked Omar about his latest article. They'd had a real conversation, not friendly exactly, but respectful. It was progress. Next week, they'd video call with Omar's family. His mother wanted to practice her English. His brother wanted to ask Nadia about architecture programs in the US. Things weren't perfect. Omar still felt guilty sometimes about the distance from his family. Nadia still had moments where her mother's comments cut too deep. They fought sometimes about whose cultural traditions to follow, about how to split holidays, about small things that weren't small at all. But they showed up. Every time, even when it was hard. "I've been thinking," Omar said, breaking the comfortable silence. "Dangerous," he smiled. "I want to ask you something." Nadia's heart started beating faster. "Okay." "Not that, not yet." He laughed at her expression. "Someday, yeah, but I'm not there yet, and neither are you, and that's okay." "Then what?" "Move in with me. My lease is up next month. We could find a place together. Something that's ours, not mine or yours. Ours." Nadia looked at him, at this man who'd crossed oceans, who'd fought his family and his guilt and his fear, who showed up every day, even when it was difficult. "Okay," she said. "Yeah? Yeah. Let's build something. Together." Omar pulled her into his arms. "That's all I've ever wanted, to build something with you." They stood on the bridge, the same bridge where they'd first kissed, where they'd made their first promises. Below, the river kept moving. Above, stars fought the city lights and mostly lost. "Are we going to make it?" Nadia asked quietly. "I don't know." Omar's honesty was one of the things she loved most. "I hope so. I'm going to fight like hell to make it work. But I don't know." "That's scary." "Yeah, but also kind of beautiful. The uncertainty, the not knowing." He pulled back to look at her. "We could play it safe, go our separate ways, find easier loves. But would they be worth as much?" "No," Nadia said, "they wouldn't. So we try, we build, we see what happens. Together, always together." A car passed over the bridge, headlights sweeping past them. Then it was quiet again. Nadia thought about her mother's letter, about regret and what-ifs, about the life her mother had given up and the decades she'd spent wondering. She thought about Maya and Carlos, choosing each day to keep trying, about Piotr and his lost Sarah, the choice he still regretted. She thought about all the ways love could go wrong, and all the ways it could go right. "Where is home for you?" Omar asked softly, the question he'd asked months ago, the question that had felt impossible to answer then. "Here," Nadia said, looking into his eyes. "With you. Between worlds. Building something new." "Between worlds," Omar repeated. "I like that. We're good at it, being between. We're learning to be." They kissed, soft and sure. A promise without guarantees. A choice made new every day. When they finally walked off the bridge, hand in hand, the city was starting to wake up. Early morning joggers appeared on the paths. Lights flickered on in apartment windows. Delivery trucks rumbled past. A new day, another beginning. Nadia looked back once at the bridge behind them. Solid, spanning the distance, holding firm. That's what they were building, a bridge between worlds, between families and cultures, and all the ways they'd been taught they were different. It wouldn't be easy. Some days would be harder than others. Some days they'd wonder if it was worth it. But they'd keep building anyway. Keep choosing each other. Keep showing up. Because love wasn't the fairy tale version, the lightning bolt, the instant knowing, the happily ever after. Love was the choice, made new every morning. The decision to stay when leaving would be simpler. The courage to build even when the ground was unsteady. Love was a bridge, and bridges took time to build, required patience and skill, and faith that something invisible could hold you. But they were building it anyway, together, between worlds. Home.